Oh, I charged the Prime Minister and the Premier and the Ministers of Energy and all of the Imperial Oil Management and all of the partners. I charged them with unfair labor practice because they put out gross bulletins about how the union would be the destruction and the death knell of the oil industry in Alberta, and I thought it was grossly unfair. And so I charged them all. I remember Ackroyd sitting there acting on behalf of the Premier that day. And I'm there, and there's 17 lawyers for the 17 companies that I've charged. And we'd gone through a couple of days of hearings, and I didn't have much evidence except these bulletins and stuff like that. So I was pretty shaky, but I had these 17 lawyers this one day. And Ackroyd stands up from the back of the hall, and he says, "Mr. Basken, is it your intention to throw the Premier in jail today?" I said, "No, Ack," I said, "I don't think I can do that." "Good," he says, "I've been paid for the day, I can go golfing." And he left the room. Anyway, my case was thrown out by the Labour Board. Well, the health and safety issues have been raised in the refineries. They've been raised because those guys deal with all the carcinogens. They make the carcinogens for society. And in the 60s, they didn't know it. And in the 60s, we had tied the environment together with health and safety. Because we were telling people that lived next to oil refineries that if benzene escapes, it's going to kill you. The policy in the early days, in the early 60s, for benzene control was to get a broom and sweep it into the sewer. Now, benzene is a highly volatile substance, and it's a very sweet, it gives you a nice high, it's lovely to smell, but causes cancer. And so do 101 other things. But their method of controlling a benzene spill was to sweep it into the sewer. That went into the North Saskatchewan River. We made an issue of a number of those things, and we finally negotiated the first union-represented health and safety committees, where we named and we did it through our national bargaining program in the oil industry, where we named representatives to health and safety committees in the 60s, before health and safety had ever become an issue with the majority of the people that were negotiating in Canada. And far ahead of what the OCAW was doing in the United States. They started in the late 60s, no, the early 70s, in hiring health and safety professionals, and they wrote a book, Peril on the Job. But the essence and the guts of the book, and Mazzocchi was in charge of it, they got from the ideas of attending meetings in Canada, and they interviewed a whole bunch of people here in Edmonton in regards to health and safety and where it should be and where it was.
Tony Mazzocchi, right?
Tony Mazzocchi. He just died here last year.
Yeah.
And so the first one, Peril on the Job, contains a number of references to the chemical plants in Edmonton and Alberta. The organizing in the oil fields, where the people used to be the highest paid in the industry, they are now the lowest, was impossible. We could sign up a rig or 100 rigs that worked for one company. And the day we made the application to the Labour Board, the rigs would be closed down. We had no application under the law here. And if we organized one rig, the Labour Board would say, but you have to organize all of the rigs for that company. If we organized all of the rigs, the Labour Board would say, you had to organize them one at a time. So we were damned if we did and damned if we didn't. And in the late 50s, or the early, or maybe 60, 61, we organized all of the rig workers, and they shut the rigs down. And once they shut them down, we had no more contact. And the guy said, oh my God, you know, you can't join a union, they shut the rig down. So we had no contact anymore. I mean, you can't organize people when their jobs are at stake very often.
So you never did crack the oil?
Never did crack the drillers.
But you cracked the gas plants?
Oh yes, the gas plants. We got there's hundreds of gas plants in Alberta. People think there's only 10 or 12. There's 170 or something gas plants in Alberta. Most of them are automatic, run from a central location, but there's a number of them with 10 or 12 employees, and then there's a number with 100 employees. And we negotiated, the first one we organized was Shell in Pincher Creek, and they hated us with a passion. It was awful. It was agony trying to negotiate an agreement with the industry, because their only it didn't matter what company it was, their only issue was, how do we get rid of the union? And you face that every single day.